They called him the Monster King. In the markets of Edrian, mothers hushed their children with his name. Old men by the tavern fire swore his shadow could turn noon to dusk. No one agreed on what he looked like, but everyone agreed on one thing. He was to be feared. Far to the north, his castle watched over frozen valleys and a silver river. No one crossed the last stone bridge. No one went near the Black Mountains. When winter nights grew long, people told stories of his hunger and his cruelty, and of how he took what he wished. In the small village of Redmere, a girl named Liora listened to these stories more than most. She had never seen the king. She only knew the way people's faces tightened when they spoke his name. In Redmere, rumor was as common as bread. Failed harvest? The Monster King. Sudden storm? The Monster King. If a year was kind, he was sleeping. If it was cruel, he had woken. Liora did not argue. She was not the kind of girl anyone listened to. She was quiet, serious-eyed, and a little out of place, never chosen for dances, never the first name on anyone's lips. Once, as a child, she had asked, if he is a monster, why does he not simply destroy us? Monsters do not wait. No one answered her after that. They preferred their fear simple. Her father had gone south to find work when she was 10 and never returned. It was easier for the village to say the Monster King took him than to imagine a lonely death on some forgotten road. So they did. Years passed. And then, one bright autumn day, the king's emissary came. He arrived on foot, alone, his dark cloak stirring in a sharp northern wind. The village square fell silent as he unrolled a parchment. By decree of King Valen of the Northern Keep, he said softly, one from this village is summoned to serve within his court. One of age, unbound and unattached. In exchange, His Majesty extends his protection. Protection. A strange word from a monster's mouth. Eyes turned, one by one, to Liora. She was unpromised. Unwanted, if anyone was honest. A girl whose absence, the village thought, would hurt the least. The emissary's gaze found her. "What is your name?" he asked. "Liora of Redmere," she said, though her throat was dry. "Will you come willingly?" The question startled her. In all the stories of the Monster King, no one had ever been asked. Liora looked at her mother, at the villagers who would choose someone else if she refused, perhaps a girl with a baby brother, or one who still believed in harvest dances. "I will come," Liora said at last. That night, the village loaded her with food, shawls, and whispered advice. Her mother held her face in her hands. "If he is half the monster they say," she whispered, "be small. Be silent. Stay out of his notice." Liora nodded. But deep in her heart, another thought flickered. And if he is not? They left at dawn. The road north was quieter than the stories, no bones, no crows clouding the sky. Just wind, trees, and the soft tread of the emissary, Corin, beside her. "You expected chains," he said once, offering her dried fruit. "I expected less kindness," she admitted. "His Majesty does not keep unwilling servants," Corin replied. "He keeps those with nowhere else to go. And those who find, in his shadow, a strange sort of light." She didn't understand, but she remembered. On the second day, they crossed the Silver River by an old stone bridge veined with frost. Do not look down too long, Corin warned. It remembers those who crossed with hatred in their hearts. Liora kept her eyes on the far shore. The air on the other side felt different, aware, as if it listened. By dusk, the northern keep rose before them, carved from dark mountain stone. It was not a jagged lair as the stories claimed. Ivy clung to the lower walls. Candles flickered in some windows, small and warm. Inside, beneath high-shadowed ceilings and soft, smokeless flames, the Monster King waited. He sat on a simple stone seat. His hair was black touched with silver. His skin was pale as moonlight. But his eyes, when they met hers, were not blood red. They were deep violet. Old, and indescribably tired. Redmere has sent me a girl who does not look away, he said. Liora flushed, realizing she had been staring. Forgive me, Your Majesty. Look up, he said quietly. She did. His gaze was intent, but not cruel. What is your name? He asked. Liora of Redmere. Do you come here of your own will? She could have lied. She could have said she was forced. But the walk north lay behind her. He had asked. She had answered. I come because there was nowhere else I was wanted, she said carefully. And because you asked if I would come. The hall shifted, almost imperceptibly. The king's eyes softened. Honest, he murmured. That is rarer than you might think. He went on, at this court, I ask no one to be more than they are. You will serve where you can. If ever you wish to leave, you will be escorted safely to the bridge. No hand here will hinder you. Do you understand? It was nothing like the stories. Yes, Your Majesty, Liora said faintly. Then be welcome in my hall, Liora of Redmere, he replied, and for the first time in her life, she felt as if someone had truly spoken her name. Life in the Northern Keep was not the nightmare she'd been promised. There were no screams in the dark. No gruesome feasts. People moved quietly and with purpose. They were pale, like Corin, with shadows in their eyes, but when someone stumbled, another always reached to steady them. Liora was given a small room with a narrow bed and a window over the valley. Her work began simply, helping in the kitchens, carrying messages, tending small glass-covered gardens where herbs grew against the cold. No one treated her like an offering. No one struck her or shouted. It was unnerving how ordinary it felt. She glimpsed the king only sometimes, passing in the halls. Once, she met him while carrying a basket of fresh bread. Redmere bread, he said, stopping. You used honey in the crust. Yes, Your Majesty. My mother taught me. It smells like early autumn, he said, and moved on. It was such a small thing. Unnoticing. Yet it lodged in her chest like a seed. Weeks later, a storm rolled down from the peaks. Thunder shook the ancient stones. In the library, Liora heard a child cry. She hadn't known there were children here. She followed the sound to a small room, where a little girl cowered under a table and a boy sat beside her, trying not to look afraid. The thunder cannot come in, Liora told them gently. The walls are too stubborn. It sounds angry, the girl whispered. Maybe it's lonely, Liora suggested. It has to shout so the mountains remember it's there. The boy snorted. You have strange ideas. "Those are the best kind," she said. When lightning flashed again, the doorway filled with a tall, still figure. For a heartbeat, even the storm felt quieter. "Fen." "Myra," the king said, his voice gentler than she had ever heard it. "The mountain is only complaining. It will tire soon." The children relaxed. That told Liora more than anything else. He thanked her for being with them. The word came awkwardly, as if unused to his tongue, but it was real. "Many hear a child weep and walk away," he said softly. "You did not." He took Myra's hand with careful, reverent fingers. "Come. The East Hall listens better. The thunder will sound farther from there." Liora watched them go, something warm and fragile blooming quietly inside her. After that, small things began to stand out. No one in the keep went hungry. Someone always made sure every plate had enough. When an old servant coughed through the night, a strong syrup and an extra blanket appeared by his bed in the morning. No one said who had brought them. One evening, Liora passed a balcony and saw the king looking south toward the villages. "Do they still hang garlic on their doors in Redmere?" he asked without turning. "Only on the elder's house," Liora answered. "My mother prefers thyme. She says if it cannot keep out ghosts, it at least makes the kitchen smell pleasant." He let out a soft breath that was almost a laugh. "Time over fear. Your mother is wise. Would garlic work?" Liora asked carefully. He looked at her then, and his eyes held a deep, weary sadness. "It would keep me away," he said quietly. "If that is what they wished." Liora thought of strange illnesses that skipped Redmere, of wolves that never came too close, of storms that turned aside at the last moment. "Has it always kept you away?" she asked. "Once," he said, "a village did not hang it. They left their doors unbarred. An extra loaf on the sill. They did not pray for me to stay away. So I did not." He paused. "I kept other things away instead." "You protected them," Liora whispered. "It is easier," he answered, "to be one feared name than to explain the countless, nameless hungers in the dark. People understand a single monster. They do not understand the things that have no shape and no story." She thought of her father, who had walked away from the north, not toward it. Of how Redmere still endured. "Why not tell them?" she asked. "Why not let them know what you do?" "When they fear me," he said quietly, "they stay close to home. They keep their children near after dusk. Fear makes them careful. Kindness might not. And you care if they are safe," she realized aloud. "I care," he said simply. "More than they would know how to forgive." Later, wandering old halls, Liora found a hidden door. Behind it lay a small room full of labeled boxes, wooden toys, tiny shoes, worn blankets, cherished books. "What is that room?" she asked him the next day. He hesitated. "We have no graveyard here," he said at last. "Those boxes are how I remember the ones who lived under my protection and then did not. Sometimes their own people did not keep their things. So I did." The thought of him, alone, gently boxing up a child's toy or a frayed blanket broke something tender open in her. Her fear of him did not vanish. He still locked himself away on certain nights when the moon was too full. His presence still felt vast, his hunger carefully leashed. the stories were not completely wrong. They were simply missing this, the quiet, stubborn kindness he hid. The first snow came early. Liora stood by her narrow window, watching the flakes drift down, when she felt someone at the door. "Do you miss it?" the king asked softly. She nodded, and he stepped in only then. That small act of asking had come to mean more than she could say. "Sometimes," she replied. "I don't ache to go back. But I wonder if they're warm. If my mother still hangs time." "If you wished it," he said, "I would send you back tomorrow. With enough coin that you never need another loaf, unless you choose to." She blinked. "Do you want me to go?" "I want you," he said carefully, "to be where you are seen as yourself. Not as a sacrifice to fear, or a space for others to fill. This place is not easy. It is lonely, often. I will not keep you here for my sake." She thought of Redmere, where she had been an afterthought. "Here," Liora said slowly, "I matter. I carry messages that change things. I know the children are not afraid of your face. I've seen the room where you keep small-us memories." Her voice softened. "You are not what they say. You are tired. And stubborn. And kinder than you think you deserve to be." "Kind," he echoed, as if the word hurt and soothed at the same time. "You take their fear," she went on, "and wear it so they will stay safe. You let them hate you, instead of letting them be careless with their lives. You walk their roads at night so worse things won't. All without thanks." He looked out at the snow. "If they knew," he whispered, "would they still keep their children close after dark? Or would they trust one would always be there, and send them farther into danger?" Liora didn't know. The world was not ready for that answer. "Maybe," she said after a while, "it is enough that someone knows. Even if it is only one girl from Redmere." He turned to her then, and for the first time, his gaze did not feel like something distant and unreachable. It felt human. "You are not afraid of me anymore," he said quietly. "I am," she admitted. "A little. But I am more afraid of a world where no one does what you do." Silence fell, soft as snow. "Then stay," he said. Not as a summoned offering. As Liora, who listens between words. "Stay, as long as this place is yours too." Something gentled and settled inside her. "I think I was always meant for the quiet edges of things," she said. "For the place between fear and what lies behind it." He bowed his head, solemn. "Then the Northern Keep is honored to have you at its heart." In Redmere, years later, they still told stories of the Monster King. Children still shivered at his name. Garlic still hung from a few stubborn doors. Travelers still spoke of storms that turned aside, wolves that never crossed certain boundaries, sicknesses that stopped at the Silver River. "He must be sleeping," the villagers would say, relieved. They never knew of the pale figure walking the mountain walls at midnight, or of the girl from their village who walked beside him, two silhouettes watching over a world that feared them. In the quiet halls of the Northern Keep, the Monster King and the once unwanted girl shared simple bread that tasted faintly of honey and early autumn. They calmed frightened children, tended fragile gardens, and sometimes stood in silence by a hidden room full of small remembered things. No songs were written about the blanket he tucked around a shivering servant, or the invisible dangers he turned aside from towns that cursed his name. No tales spoke of the way he let Liora see the gentleness he hid from everyone else. But in that patient, listening castle, another kind of story lived, unofficial, unwritten, yet truer than rumor. That sometimes real kindness wears a frightening shape. That sometimes the one we fear most is the one keeping us safe. And that behind even the darkest legends, there can be a quiet, enduring humanity, soft, unseen, and steadfast, waiting for someone brave enough to look past the monster and find the man.